shaking? What's doing? I hope you are all doing well. My name is Dave McRae, coming to you live from the Voice Man Studios in Toronto, Canada, and this is episode 365 of McRae Live. The date today is Wednesday, November the 19th, 2025, 7:10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Stranger Things Season 5, the final season. Are you a Stranger Things fan? Maybe you're not. I'm a Stranger Things fan. The final season is 1 week away, releasing on November the 26th, and then December 25th, and then December 31st in 3 chunks. What's going to happen? What is going to happen? I don't know. I have no idea. Let's do it one more time. Yes. Today on the show, we're going to talk some Stranger Things. We're going to talk Stranger Things Season 5. We're also going to talk why I think, and maybe this is a hot take, I don't know, but I've been talking about it for, well, it's not like I've been talking about it a lot here on the channel, but I've mentioned it before, that I think the character of Eleven, played by Millie Bobby Brown, needs to go. She needs to die. Why, though? Dave, do you hate her? No. Do you hate the character? No! I don't hate the character. But I think it will be best served if the character makes the ultimate sacrifice to save the world. And we're going to talk about it here on the show today. If you're watching after the fact, don't forget to subscribe and follow me on social media and all that kind of stuff. And jump into the comment section. Let me know your thoughts on anything I say here today. All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 365 of McRae Live. Yes, it is time to talk some Stranger Things. We are on the cusp. We are on the doorstep of the release of the final season of one of the most popular television shows in history. And so if you think of it like that, it is true. I mean, this is a monumental sort of thing. Whether you like Stranger Things or not, whether you're a fan or not, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you think. It doesn't matter what your opinions are. It is one of the most popular, most watched television shows in the history of entertainment, whether you like the show or not. You know what I'm saying? It's just, those are the facts, right? Those are the facts. I mean, it's just the way it is. And so, you know, it's one of those things, like back in the day when, I mean, if you're old enough to remember, of course, like I was very young, but the season finale or the series finale of MASH, you know what I mean? The series finale of MASH, you know, or the series finale of Seinfeld, you know, or the series finale of The Sopranos. You know, of course, this was cable television, not streaming, but, you know, it's the same thing. I mean, it is one of the most popular television shows in the history of entertainment. And whether you like it or not, it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. Now, you may not care, but that doesn't take away from the fact that it is one of the most successful popular television shows in history. And when it came around in 2016, it's hard to believe it's been 10 years almost, and we've only got 5 seasons, but we'll talk about why that is, because people have been like, why is it only 5 seasons? We'll talk about it. And so, as somebody who is middle-aged, I'm 46, I'll be 47 next year. I grew up through the 1980s as a young boy and through the 90s as a teenager. But I remember the 80s. I mean, I was into He-Man and G.I. Joe and Thundercats and Alf and you know, The Cosby Show, you know, whatever. Michael Thriller. I mean, you know, it was the 80s. It was the 80s. And now the kids in Stranger Things are about 5 years older than I was at they're like 11, I think, when the show begins. And when the show begins, I'm like 4 or 5, you know what I'm saying? So they're a bit older in that not like astronomically older, you know, but just a few years older than I am. But The point I'm making is that, I grew up through that time as well. And so when the show came about, and I was late to the party on it because I think the show was released, the very first season was released in like July or something like that of 2016. I didn't watch it until like November, like it is now, like it was like a few months later. And I, at that time, and I'm still like this, I don't watch a lot of television. I don't watch a lot of shows. I don't know why. I just don't. I don't binge watch. I mean, there are some shows I've watched, of course, but I'm not watching like the latest. I've never seen an episode of Squid Game. I've never seen an episode of probably most of the shit that you've watched. But I do watch some stuff that does interest me, like Dark, right? Germany's first Netflix show. Germany's first Netflix show. I think it was Germany, right? That was amazing. Like that was 3 seasons of like cerebral, like just workouts. I was like, oh my, I think it made me smarter and a better writer. But anyway, there are shows that I do watch. The OA I watched, that I found interesting. I'm usually watching more of the cerebral stuff. But of course, these were after Stranger Things. So I never binged. I don't know. Yeah. And I have to say, I had Netflix, but Stranger Things was the first show that I'd ever watched. Like the first show that I watched that I really got into. And I took a chance on it because a voiceover buddy of mine, Mike Pongratz, shout out to Mike Pongratz. If you're Canadian, you'd know his voice as the voice of Sportsnet here in Canada, which is like Canada's ESPN, right? It's huge, huge network. And so my buddy Mike reaches out to me. This is 10 years ago, right? Or I guess, no, not quite, 9 years ago. And he's like, Dave, have you watched Stranger Things yet? And I'm like, no. I mean, I've heard of it. I mean, it's all the rage. You can't scroll somewhere without seeing it, but I just haven't gotten around to it. He's like, dude, you've got to watch it. It's like the Goonies meets like Stephen King meets like John Carpenter meets like this is crazy. It's wild, like the Monster Squad, and then you're like meshing this and that. I'm just like, what? What's taking me so long? And so I watched the first season, and but here's the thing. That was my first experience of binge watching. I was sitting in my bedroom, and I have a 60-inch television in my bedroom. Yeah, that's right. Anyway, so I was sitting there, and I never experienced binging before, because if you grew up like me through the 80s or the 90s, well, there's no such thing as binging. There was one episode a week, and that was it. You had to wait a week. There's no such thing as binging. You kids don't fucking... Anyway, so there it is, all 8 episodes or however long it was. And I watched the first episode, and I'm hooked. First of all, Winona Ryder, easy on the eyes. And of course, growing up with her through the late 80s and the 90s, she was very cute. Still is. She's gorgeous. But anyways, I was like, Winona Ryder is in it? What's going on? And David Harbour, of course, who I knew from, what was the movie now? Anyways. So I sat down, I watched this, and after the first episode, I'm like, I gotta watch the next episode. So I watched the next episode. And after the second episode, I'm like, I gotta watch the next episode. So I watched the third episode. And after the third episode, I'm like, I gotta watch the next episode. So I watched the fourth episode. And then by this time, it's like 2:30 in the morning. And I'm like, I gotta stop. I have to stop. Like, I can't, I gotta go to bed. I got shit I gotta do. And then the very next night, I'm like, I watch, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And I had never experienced that before. I had never experienced a show that was so compelling that at the end of every episode, it was like, like a cliffhanger, like what next? And it was true. It was like the Goonies meets Monster Squad meets Stephen King meets John Carpenter meets Spielberg. Blanking on his name there. Spielberg, that was the big one too. It's like Stephen King meets John Carpenter meets Spielberg meets the Goonies meets the Monster Squad. I mean, that's literally what it was. And if you grew up through the 80s at that time, you can relate to all the pop culture things, not just out and about riding your bikes, getting into shenanigans, but of course, just some of the pop culture stuff like Egos and that scene when Eleven's turning on the TV and she's flipping through the channels and there's He-Man and all this. I mean, it's like, this is like and this was at the very beginning, although it wasn't the first show, it was the beginning of the real, when this nostalgia era that we're in now, we've been in it now for like 10 or 12 years, really took off. Like, it really just became this huge, big thing, right? This huge, big thing. And it really, really, really took off. And Stranger Things is a big part of that. And so I was like, just, really just enjoyed the show. I really liked it. And of course, season 2 came along, and season 3 and season 4. And here are my thoughts, just in like a very Cliff Notes kind of way. Season 1 is still my favorite. And the reason it's my favorite is not because I'm one of those guys, you like the first one of everything. Well, that's because 9 times out of 10, the first thing out of every franchise, not all the time, but more often than not, is always the best one, because it's fresh, it's new, the ideas are original, it hasn't outstayed its welcome, they haven't jumped the shark, you know what I mean? So 9 times out of 10, yeah, the first one is usually always the best, not all the time, but usually that's the case because of those things. But the reason I like Stranger Things season 1 the best is because I think it encapsulates it is the perfect encapsulation of what Stranger Things is and what it was always supposed to be about. It was the Goonies meets Monster Squad, Spielberg, Carpenter, Stephen King. Like, it was that. And the older the children get, the less charming it becomes. It's not that it's bad. It's not that it's terrible. It's just different. And because the kids were like literally 11 or 12 in season 1, and because it's taken so long to get to all these other seasons, and why is that the case? Well, of course, there's a couple of reasons. Number one is you had COVID in there, you had a pandemic in there, and you also had a SAG-AFTRA strike in there as well. So did that delay things? Yes, absolutely. However, having said that, one of the big reasons why these seasons take so long specifically is because television today, they are movies. They may not be the length of movies, some of these episodes. Some of them are, but most of the episodes are not. They're usually, about an hour. But the production value and everything that goes into it, the world building, the mythology, the layers, the characters, the through lines that they're creating, because each episode, it's not episodic in the sense of that each episode's a different story. It's not like a sitcom, right, where each episode's a different story. This is like one long 8-hour movie. And when you are creating television that's like that, you are creating an 8-hour movie. That is what you're creating. And in the case of season 2, it was 9 hours. And when you're firing on all cylinders and you're spending millions of dollars per episode, it becomes you are making something cinematic. And that takes time. It takes time. It would be like shooting 3 Star Wars movies back to back to back. That might only be 6 hours, right? Because it all adds up to 8 hours. So imagine, going out and, it might only take 3 months to shoot 1 Star Wars movie, but it might take you over a year or maybe a year and a half to shoot 3. You know what I mean? Now imagine doing all that, and it's going to take like 2 or 3 years between seasons, folks. It will. Because that's the reality of the level for which they're working at, right? They're not shooting The Cosby Show. They're not shooting, dating myself here, they're not shooting, I don't know what sitcom is out, Modern Family. They're not, that's not even modern. I don't watch television. But they're shooting like cinematic cinematic shows. That's why it takes so long. Okay, no big deal, right? Fans are like, yeah, I'm totally down for that. But the problem when you run into that is because now the children, they're not like 25-year-olds playing 20-year-olds. They're literally 11-year-old children. And children age massively between 11 and, And so now, because it's been 10 years, you have these 22-year-olds playing 15-year-olds. And listen, it works enough that we can suspend our disbelief and go, okay, all right, okay. But I can't help but feel the series begins in 1983. And what is this supposed to be, 87 or something like that? Like, really? They don't look like they've aged to 15. They look like they've aged to how they are. I think it just would have been better to push it to 89. Just make the final season in 89. But I can't help but feel that maybe psychologically the Duffer Brothers thought, oh, but that's like, what's the difference between 89 and 1990? And it's like, well, yeah, like I get it, but it's still the 80s. It's still 19, and then you could have kind of like the last big hurrah before the change of the decade. The 90s are around the corner, but this is the last. It is still technically the 80s. But to make it from 83 to 87 just feels like, really? And all of this shit, think about everything that happened in season 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, all that shit. These kids are going to need major therapy. I mean, all that shit in 4 years, and not even 4 years. Like, think about all the shit that happened. Season 1 and 2 was only like a year and a half in the actual timeline. It's like, what? Anyways, I digress. But that is why it takes so long. And you add in a strike, and you add in the pandemic. But I do agree that I think it's for me, it's pushing the line a little bit for me to believe that these actors are playing characters who are 15. Because that's what they are. Listen, guys, if it's 1987, right, 11 would be 15, 16, right? Some might be 16, some might be, but that's how old they are. It doesn't, they're still young enough that you can suspend your disbelief. It's not like me playing somebody who's 16, right? But they're old enough that it becomes a little kind of uncanny valley-ish, if I could use that. It's just kind of weird. But it is what it is. It's the reality of the production schedule. It's the reality of a strike and a pandemic and all that kind of stuff. It's just, they just, unless you wanted them to recast, this is just, the reality. And so it is what it is. But for me, I even liked season 2. Although I think season 2 is the weakest out of them all. I think everybody agrees with that. I actually didn't mind the episode where she goes off and meets her sister. I didn't mind it. But I've liked all the seasons. I like season 3. I like season 4. I have no doubt we're going to like season 5. But season 1 is my favorite because I think it is the perfect example of what it was always supposed to be about, right? And there's a charm and a naivety and an innocence with preteen children, right? Because once you get to your teens, and certainly 15, 16, yes, you're still kids, but you're in high school, your hormones are racing, there's the opposite sex. Now, I think the Duffer Brothers have done a good job of weaving that material into the later seasons, not pretending that doesn't exist. We see that, right? Like we see them thinking about those things and, oh, he's cute and, oh, what are we going to do? We see those things, but it's not really the same, right? That's why I don't think the Goonies would have necessarily have worked later either. I know they're doing it too, and that's a whole other show. But and so there's that childhood innocence, that naivety, that sweet sort of just riding around on your bikes, getting into. And it's not that you don't think girls or boys are cute at that time. I just mean there's an innocence at that time, that 11, 12, 13 kind of age that isn't quite there when you're 17. Right? It's a whole different world when you're 17. I mean, you are completely different when you're 17. And so that's why they don't usually make those kinds of stories and movies with kids that are like 19, because it doesn't, you know what I mean? And so, anyways, of course I speak generally, but I think there's an innocence, a naivety, a sweetness, a charm about that first season. And the mystery is great, because what Stranger Things became, and I understand they had to do this, as you go along, you have to do this, it almost has become, dare I say, too cinematic, too major Hollywood Star Wars blockbuster level. Like, it's almost like, wow, this is like, I should just be going to the movie theater to see this. Whereas that first season had enough production value, had enough special effects, but not enough to overwhelm you and think you're watching Endgame. Do you know what I mean? And so again, and I get it, by the fit, like it's in, you know, you're moving the story along, things are compounding, you're getting, I totally get it. It makes sense. It works. It's probably the right thing to do. But that first season really has that small town mystery, Nancy Drew, Hardy Boys, you know, like just that kind of creepy, eerie, what's going on around the corner, the creepy old man down the road. But there's enough production value that it's like, wow, like this is like just a little bit more than that kind of stuff too at the same time, you know? And I love that. I love that about the first season. And the score and the synth and the mystery. And I just love that episode in the first season when Hopper just pulls out what he thinks is, you know, Will, and it's a stuffed Will, you know, and it's just like, what the fuck? There's just little things like that, you know, it's like this mystery, like a page turner in a book. Like, what's going on? You know what I mean? And I think that's why it's my favorite season, whereas the later seasons, especially 3 and 4, especially 4, it's cinematic, Star Wars level, Marvel, DC level special effect, holy fucking shit, epic blockbuster filmmaking. That's what it is. Literally, that's not hyperbolic. And so it's like, it loses a bit of its charm because of that, right? Because you're so caught up in the epicness of it. And there's no doubt that 5, I mean, we've seen the trailers, it's going to be off the chain epic. It looks even more epic than 4. And so I feel like I'm no longer watching that thing that Stranger Things was. It's kind of grown to have a life of its own. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just how I feel about the franchise as a whole. That's not me saying I don't like any of the other series. I do, or the other seasons. I do. And I'm sure I'm going to really like season 5 as well. I might even love season 5. I love season 3. I think it's really good. And I like season 4. I've liked all of them, but 1 is my favorite for those reasons. Now let's talk about 11. Oh, finally! That's why I tuned in, man. That's why I tuned in. I tuned in to hear you talk about 11. It took you like what? It took you like 25 minutes, bruh. Shut up and sit down. Anyway, so, oh man. So, okay, let's talk about 11. Great character, iconic character, will go down in history as one of the great pop culture characters. This is why I think 11 has got to go. And I think about this from a story perspective, right? I don't dislike the character at all. I think the character is great. I don't know if the Duffer Brothers have the balls to do it. Even if they did, I don't know if Netflix would let them do it. Maybe Netflix has some crazy idea down the road for some 11 spinoffs. I don't know. But I've always thought, and I've thought this probably starting with season 3. I didn't know where it was going to go. I didn't know how it was going to end up. But I always thought, wherever it goes, I feel like 11 will eventually have to sacrifice herself, make the ultimate sacrifice to save the world. Now, maybe that's what they've done. Maybe it is. I don't know. But I don't want them to do it. Like, I don't want there to be like a fake thing where you think she's dead, but she's really alive, because they've kind of done that a couple of times. And we don't want like a Marvel death where they're not actually dead. No, I mean dead. Gone. Like Han Solo gone. Luke Skywalker gone. Anakin Skywalker. Like, I mean, they're dead. Obi-Wan Kenobi gone. They're dead. And it's not because I think they can become a Force ghost. And no, not that. I just think that when you think about her character, and this is no fault of the character, like in terms of her story, it's actually a tragic story. It's really, really, really sad in a lot of ways. But I don't believe that this character, even if you were to strip her powers away from her, like maybe something happens where, okay, well, let's not get ahead of myself here. Let's start with this. She is, for all intents and purposes, a god. She's a god. This isn't a superhero universe, right? This isn't James Gunn's Superman, which I like, by the way, where, these things are just normal. No, she's a god. She's literally a god. She can not fly, but she can shoot herself through the air. She's got telekinesis. She can move things with her mind. She can go like this and things explode. I mean, it's almost like the Force. She's a god. Eleven could never live a normal life. She could never live a normal life. She'd be hounded by the public, by social media. I'm thinking about this from a story perspective. She could never live a normal life. What now? What, she's going to just, the whole thing, hey, she saved the world. What, she's going to go to college now? Yeah, she's going to college. Nobody's going to go, hey, can you fucking... No, she could never live a normal life. Never. And we've kind of seen them touch on those themes a little bit throughout some of the seasons. Okay, let's say her powers go away. Okay, yes, that's one way to do it. Okay, no, you're right, Dave. There's no way she could live a normal life, so we've got to get rid of her powers. Like something happens. They kind of did that in 3, right? But it's got to be something has her power. Okay. But she might be able to live more of a normal life, but she will always be that girl. She will always be the woman who saved the world, or whatever the case is. And it's like, I don't know, it's such a young age because, again, in the show, she's only supposed to be 16, so it's like, I mean, even if she's going to finish high school, go to college, and everyone's going to go, holy fuck, you're that girl! You're the fucking girl! I mean, it's just like her life forever is just how? Unless that, again, you could write around it, figure it out. But I always thought, and I posted about this on my social media the other day, about Harrison Ford. And it makes me angry, not because Harrison Ford is my favorite actor. I would be saying the exact same thing I'm saying to you here if it wasn't Harrison Ford and it was, I don't know, Danny DeVito. I mean, I'd be saying the exact same thing. It doesn't matter. For decades now, there's been this thing that Harrison Ford hates Star Wars. He hates Han Solo, and that's why he wanted Han Solo to die. And that is the furthest thing from the truth. He doesn't hate Star Wars. He doesn't hate Han Solo. He's never said that, by the way. It's just something that fandom, and now because of social media, has projected onto him because he has that thing of being a grumpy kind of older guy now, but he's dry. He's got a dry sense of humor. He's witty. He's not like this, ball of energy. And he has often said, he's often said he appreciates the films. They set him on his path to stardom. Who knows where he'd be if it wasn't for George Lucas. He's said that multiple times. The reason he wanted Han Solo to die was not because he hated the fucking character. People have to understand that actors, not all, but a lot of actors don't look at these characters through the same lenses as the fans do. Their experience with making the movie is very different from your experience of watching the movie. It's a very different experience. And Harrison Ford's very grateful for Han Solo. Of course he is. He said it. But when he looks at it as a professional, as an actor, it's his job. This is his job, like what your job is. This is his job. So when he looks at it, he goes, I think this character's done. I think this character is done. And maybe, like, he's gone from selfish smuggler to reluctant hero. So maybe to give the story some bottom, some weight, he said to George Lucas, maybe Han Solo should die. Right? Maybe Han Solo should die. Not just die, but like in a, you know, he sacrifices himself to say, you know, something like that. Like maybe he should die because I feel like there's not much more we can do with this character. And George Lucas was like, there's no money in dead Han Solo toys, right? That famous quote, of course. So Lucas didn't keep Han Solo around because he needed to be around. He kept it around because of merchandise. Merchandise. I get it. It was a business decision, not a story decision. But Harrison Ford's right. Because when you look at him in Return of the Jedi, hey, I'm glad he's there. He's Han Solo, Return of the Jedi. I love him, yeah. But, you know, he's like, there's not a lot going on with his character in that film, right? His arc was really Star Wars and Empire. Return of the Jedi, I know he went to the thing and he put the thing in the thing. I get it. But some people have often said that, he wasn't very good in Return of the Jedi. I said, no, it's not that he wasn't good. It's that there wasn't much for him to do because what do you do with him now? He was fine. I'm just saying, right? So anyways, why do I say all this? Because I think the same thing should happen with 11. I think she's reached the end of her arc. I mean, if you think about it, right? I mean, there's still some secrets that will probably be revealed, of course, about her and her past and Vecna and all that. Okay, fine. But I just mean that what a way to go out. Sacrificing herself to save the world. Because I think she knows she could never live a normal life. And she's the only one that can do it. Because she's a god. Do you know what I mean? Mike Wheeler's not going to sacrifice himself to save the world. But maybe she sacrifices herself to save Mike. And she dies. Now, could I see Netflix and the Duffer Brothers at the very end? There's like a little thing where it's hinted that maybe she's still out there. Yeah, totally. Because in today's day and age, you know, there's no future in Dead 11. But that would be such a powerful ending. It was all leading towards that. Do you know what I mean? So when Harrison Ford came back for The Force Awakens, he didn't say, I think he should die because he hated Star Wars or Han Solo. No, because and it did. Look at the way, you may hate The Force Awakens. You may not like Disney, Star Wars, fine. But if you look how it was written and how it was done in the way that those things should be done. He didn't die of old age off camera. He didn't die because he, tripped over a rock and hit his head. No, he died trying to save his son. But his son was too far gone. Listen to the dialogue. Han is saying, when Kylo Ren says, I know I have the strength, I know what I need to do, but I don't know if I have the strength to do it. They're totally on two different, Han Solo thinks he's saying, I know what I need to do. I need to come with you, Dad. I need to be a good guy, but I don't know if I have the strength to do it. That's what Han Solo thinks he's saying. That's not what he's saying. He's saying, I know I need to kill you, Father, but I don't know if I have the strength to do it. That's actually what he means. It's such a terrific dichotomy of what one thinks the other is saying, and then all of a sudden, Han Solo is killed. It's like, oh my God, no. Like, you know what I'm saying? Now you may not like it. Well, fuck that. But at least it was done in the ways that those things should be done. And I think the same thing should happen to 11. I think she needs to go. Not because I hate the character, not because the character is bad, but because it will serve the story. And it will make, depending on how they've written it, it could make the whole bigger picture feel more complete. The little girl that showed up that day saved the world. Yeah, but Dave, she could save the world and live on. Yeah, but if she's living on and happily ever after and going to school and getting her degree in marketing, no! Because she's a god. You know what I mean? And sometimes gods have to sacrifice themselves, have to make the ultimate sacrifice to save the world and all of humanity. That would be powerful. That would be amazing. Imagine the emotions that you crazy Stranger Things fans would feel if 11 was sacrificing herself to save Mike in a scene where it's like everything's going on. There's like a portal or something. And she's like, I'm like, no, 11, I love you. And you're just like, oh my God, is this really happening? No, they're not going to kill her. And she sacrifices herself to save the world. I mean, man, whew. Now that's how you do it. That's how you do it. That's how you do it. Do I think that is what they're going to do? You know, I think it's 50-50 because the trailers haven't really revealed enough for me to know. Like, we'll see, because I don't know. Probably not. She'll probably survive. Her powers will dissipate and they'll say that she lived happily ever after. Or they will kill her, but they'll do that thing where it's like, oh, no. She's still kind of out there. You know, she's in the upside down. Or not the upside, wherever, she's still kind of there. And Mike can communicate with her through the Force or something. And it's like, oh, God, just God damn it, Hollywood. Have the guts to end a fucking story. Anyway. Pull the trigger, man. There's nothing wrong with things ending. Because if nothing ends, then what's the point? If you think about it. If stories never end, why am I watching? If stories never end, why am I watching? So, and it's, again, I'm being theatrical here to make a point. Don't misunderstand me. It's not that there couldn't be a terrific ending with her surviving. I'm not saying that there couldn't be. There could be an amazing ending with her surviving and everybody living happily ever after. 100%. But I just think there's an opportunity that it may be more powerful. It may mean more. That emotional bottom, that emotional weight that gives that story that bottom, that Ford wanted for Solo to die. And it would have. If Han Solo had died in The Empire Strikes Back, oh my God, especially after the, I love you. I know. I mean, if he had died, it gives it a whole different new meaning. Now, of course, they went on and lived happily ever after and they made out and they had Kylo Ren. Fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It works. It's great. I was happy to see my favorite actor in part 3, right? Return of the Jedi. It's great. It was great. But as I've gotten older, as a grown-ass middle-aged man now, I look at those things and I'm like, no, he's not wrong. Oh my God. Especially at Empire, because there's so many dark things already about that movie. So I just think, that 11, it would give the story bigger picture, full circle meaning and weight and bottom. But you could say, but maybe if she loses her powers and she lives happily ever after, that's more of a full, for a full circle moment because she now can become the woman that she was robbed from, becoming the childhood she was robbed. I get it. Like you can create different stories. But I hope she goes. I think it would be powerful. I think it would be cinematic. I think it would be memorable. Yeah, you're going to piss off some people. So what? If you're doing what everybody expects, what's the fucking point of doing it? You know what I'm saying? Now, I don't mean that you should be avant-garde, okay? Don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying you should go off and be irresponsible, Last Jedi, or do something really weird and strange for a third part in a trilogy like Halloween Ends. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying if you're playing it too safe, what's the point? And I'm not saying that you should just kill her for the sake of it. It's got to have meaning. It's got to have weight. It's got to make sense. It's got to be properly motivated. How it happens, where it happens, in the moment that it happens, what are the stakes around it? Everything's got to be firing on all cylinders. Everything. But if it's right, it could be one of the most powerful moments in that entire franchise. And it's something that I hope they do. Because I think how could she live a normal life? Even with her powers gone, how could this girl grow up to be normal? She'd have to be secluded. She'd have to, there'd be so many, especially after saving the world. Yeah, I know it's Hawkins, but let's be honest. If Hawkins gets taken over by Vecna, he's going to take over the world. So she saves the world. she's going to be, Somebody in the chat said Oprah. Yeah, Oprah is going to be calling her. Oprah, Phil Donahue, Sally Jesse Raphael, all those shows back at that time. I mean, it's just, how do you? Anyways, those are my thoughts, folks, on why I think 11 should die. And it's all about what's best for the story. What I believe at this moment could serve the story in a very meaningful, powerful way. And we'll see if it happens. I don't know if it's going to happen, but we will see if it does happen. I'm not entirely sure. Folks, listen, if you're watching after the fact, jump into the comment section. Let me know your thoughts on Stranger Things. Are you excited about season 5? 1 week today, season 5 drops on Netflix. Well, the first 4 episodes, I think, drop. Let me know your thoughts if you're excited, and let me know your thoughts on what I had to say here today about that. Now, let's go over to the chat room and see what all you are saying now. I know, a super chat came in, I think. Was it one super? I think just one super chat came in. Now is the time if you want to send in a super chat or a member chat, if you are a member. The Flet from Another World. Hello, Flet. Sends in a member chat. Says, hey, Dave. How are you? And cheers to 13 months as a member for 13 months. You've been a member for 13 months. Thank you, Flet. I really appreciate that. Thank you. And then we got Gentilon James sends in $5 and says, hey, Dave, I'm a fellow chocolate milk enthusiast. Yes! I'm looking for the most delicious kind. What's your favorite kind? Oh, God, I've had so many. I usually just get the Nielsen, the Nielsen chocolate milk. Yeah, that's usually what I get. I'm not overly picky. I mean, I've had some pretty shitty chocolate milk, but the Nielsen I usually get because it's just usually the one that's readily available, whether I'm at a donut shop or a convenience store or, at the grocery store. It's usually just kind of there. And I notice that when I do order a chocolate milk at a restaurant, when I taste it, I think that's what they have. So, but there's lots of different brands out there. Let me put on my glasses and see what everybody is saying. All right. Yeah, she'd be on Oprah, says Geeked Out Turtle Fan. Follows up with, I think he was ready for the character to die because he had done so much already with that character. Well, that's exactly it. It had nothing to do with hating. Harrison Ford doesn't hate Star Wars. People think that Harrison Ford hates Star Wars because they equate his demeanor and the idea that he wanted him to die as he didn't like the character. Folks, again, and I say this, it is 100% true. Not with everybody. There are some actors out there that are deeply connected to the characters that they play and love. Fine. But overall, you have to remember that the experience of a fan is very different from the experience of an actor. That's why so many fans know so much more about their characters and their movies than they do. Because when they're done, they move on. They're not thinking about it. They're not talking about it. They're not watching their movies. They move on. Literally, they move on. They go on to the next thing. They go on to the next thing. It's not that they're not appreciative of roles that have allowed them to move up the chain, like Indiana Jones and Han Solo are his two most iconic roles. And they are certainly, especially Indiana Jones, has become, a big part of his career. And he's very appreciative of them. But when people ask him, Mr. Ford, what do you think about, Harrison Ford, Han Solo and Indiana Jones being in a movie together? And it breaks my heart. And because I've seen these things asked before. And look, could Harrison Ford could he play along a little bit more? Sure. Yes, I agree. He could play along a little bit more. But it's who he is. But don't misunderstand who he is for having hatred or just not liking the characters he plays. But there's been people that have asked him, I think it was at Comic-Con, this one guy, this big fan, it's like, Mr. Ford, if Han Solo and Indiana Jones met, what would they say? And he's all excited, and Harrison Ford's up there and he goes, hi, and everybody laughs and things like that. And because he's never thought about this for an entire second of his life. He's never, ever, ever in his entire life ever thought, what would Han Solo say to Indiana Jones? He's never thought about it. You know what I mean? Now, if that was asked of me, because I'm a bit of a different personality, I might be like, ooh, that's a good question. I don't know, man. Hey, you want to go for a beer? Or, hey, can I try out your whip or something? You know what I mean? Like, I would have had fun with it, right? A lot of actors would have. But again, different personality, right? But don't equate that sort of one-dimensional, I don't know, as he hates you, he hates the fans, he hates the character. No, it's just his job. Harrison Ford has never, and I mean never, and trust me, I know a lot about him. Okay. I've read everything there is to know on this man. And, he didn't get into the business to be famous. He doesn't care about fame. It's a byproduct of what he does. He's talked a lot about it. He's all about the work and the characters and the script. And a lot of actors are like that. A lot of method actors are like that. Now, Harrison Ford's not a method actor. He's not like a Daniel Day-Lewis. But he is that type of actor where he's about the work, about the character. Does this work? Does this make sense? He's not thinking about the other pop culture-y stuff. He doesn't care about that. He's even been asked, do you hold any sentimental value? Like he was asked this, I'm paraphrasing, but he was asked this during the Dial of Destiny press junket. Somebody asked him, it's all over now. And, this is the end. And, it's been a big part of your career. Like, do you hold any sort of like, oh my God, and, whatever, do you have anything from the movies? Do you look back? And I'm paraphrasing, but he goes, no. He then went on to say, like, I'm paraphrasing, but I'm saying it more enthusiastically than he did. But he basically said, don't get me wrong. It's not that I'm not appreciative of it. I am. I mean, I'm appreciative of these roles. I've enjoyed them. I've enjoyed working with the people, creating the character, of Indiana Jones and seeing where he was in his 30s and now where he is in his, 80s and seeing that. And he's talking about it from the story and the character. He doesn't have the same nostalgia that we do because to him, it doesn't represent nostalgia. It doesn't represent identity. It doesn't represent childhood, right? For us, those things are part of, they're part of our most, formative years, right? Harrison Ford was 40 when he made Indiana Jones, the first one. He was like 39. He was 37 or 6 or something when he did, 35 when he did Star Wars. So, I mean, he was already a grown-ass man with children. And so you got to just remember those things. That's why it's not that, listen, some actors are dicks. Some actors are fucking dicks, 100%. And you're like, come on, dude, you could be nicer than that. 100%. But that's not Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford's not a dick. He's I don't know what his personality letters are, but he's definitely an introvert, right? And he's all about the work and he's appreciative and thankful for the fans, or he calls them customers. I've heard him say that. He goes, I'm appreciative for the customers. He says, because if it wasn't for my customers, I wouldn't be where I am. Interesting choice, right? He doesn't say fans. He says customers because that's how he thinks about this, right? So no, he doesn't hate Star Wars. He doesn't hate Han Solo. And no, he didn't want Han Solo to die because he thought Han Solo was dumb. No, it was because he thought, what I don't feel as an actor here, I don't know what more I can do. I'm looking at the writing and I'm just not, I think we're done here, guys. Like maybe, hey, I got an idea. What if he dies? Could you imagine that? Luke gets his hand cut off. Han Solo dies. Oh my God. Then there's Lando. Oh my God. Like what a thing. No. All right. I guess I'll come back for Return of the Jedi. You know what I mean? So I get it. But we fans have that nostalgia. I don't want my favorite character to die. And I'm right there with you. Like, I get it. I'm a fan too, right? It's like, I get it. I don't want my favorite character to die. No, I don't want my favorite character. Because we're looking at it through a different lens. It's a different lens. Anyways. Josh McKenna, $9.99. Thank you, Josh. And says, did you hear about the feud between Millie Bobby Brown and David Harbour? Was it debunked? Well, they were laughing and joking on the red carpet. I don't know. I have no idea. Who knows? Maybe it was much ado about nothing, probably. It was probably blown out of proportion, to be honest with you. Alex Shambach says, people had the same reaction when Jamie Lee Curtis stated she wasn't a fan of horror movies and doesn't watch the Halloween films. 100%. 100%. There are so many people that do horror movies, but they're not necessarily fans of horror movies. Now, there are people that will do horror movies that love them. But Jamie Lee Curtis, no, she did it because it's a job. Look, the experience of making a movie, and I don't say this in a pretentious way, the experience of making a movie is very different, folks. It's very different than what you see on screen. And so you have to remember that this is their jobs. And sometimes the job can be fun, and sometimes the job can be great. And if it's successful enough, it can set them up for the next job. And I speak about this from a place of being informed. And listen, I'm not an A-list Hollywood on-camera actor, but I am a professional voice actor who works at the top of the game in professional voiceover. And I can tell you that voiceover is acting. It's voice acting. You're just behind a microphone. And the same principles apply. The same principles apply. You know, and I'm not necessarily emotionally attached to any of the roles that I've done. You know, I'm appreciative of the work. I'm appreciative of them. Of course, 100%. And I hope it keeps going. But the reason why I hope it keeps going is not because I am emotionally attached to the world or the characters. That doesn't mean I don't like the world or the character. But I hope it keeps going because it's my job. And I get paid to do a job. And as an actor, whether it's voice acting or in front of the camera, it's all contract work, right? You know, so when the show comes to an end or the season comes to an end, you're out of a job until the next job comes along. It's the same with any actor. And so the same principles apply, you know. So I do understand. Like I understand 100%. Again, not that I've ever made or been in a Hollywood A-level film like Star Wars, but it's the same principles. And so, but I'm also a fan too, right? And I have so much nostalgia for so many characters in movies like you do. I mean, it's not that I'm immune to that. I just, fortunately, because of what I do for a living, I'm also able to see behind the curtain and work behind the curtain as well. And so it's given me that perspective where when I hear actors say that, I'm like, yeah, I get it. Like, I totally understand. And then when they start talking about things and characters that maybe some people might interpret as, oh, they just hate that character, I'm like, nah, I totally get what he's saying. He's not saying he hates the character. I get what he's saying. Anyways, not to beat a dead horse, but it's something that I think is important because it does relate to why I want 11 to die. I think it will serve. I think there's an opportunity, the power and emotion and weight that would give the series is incredible. Absolutely incredible. Let me see here. It's quiet in here tonight. Not too many people in here tonight. I guess not too many people watch me are Stranger Things fans. I should have put Stranger Things Friday the 13th. That's what I should have put in the title. Did I miss any super chats or member chats? I don't think I did. No, Josh McKenna was the last one. Okay, just want to make sure. Scared Straight Production says, Dave, you have predictions of other deaths in the show. Jonathan, Will, Steve, Holly, and of course 11. Great question. So, obviously, here's the thing. Steve could have died as well in that first season or even the second season because he's kind of a Han Solo, right? Selfish smuggler to reluctant hero. That was Steve. Now, they kept him around and they were able to write him, you know, further. But I think Steve could die. Jonathan, nah. I don't think I think if anybody else, it makes sense. I think Steve would make sense. Somebody's got to go. You can't just kill villain. the thing that, and I understand why you do it, because you don't want to do it. Again, you can't be avant-garde. You can't shoot from the hip and be careless. But the people that have died are peripheral characters that you might like, but they don't really their deaths don't change the fundamental foundation. Oh my God. Like Barb in season 1, right? Okay. What's his face? Sean Astin, in season 2. Yeah, that sucks. Because Sean Astin plays that, gee, go lucky you kind of nice guy, next door really, really well. And it would have been really cool to see him move on. So that was like, but again, introduced in that season, killed in that season. It's like, no. Somebody big's gotta go. Somebody big's gotta go. I mean, if this season ends and Steve and Nancy and Jonathan and Eleven and Mike and Will and Dustin and Lucas and Winona Ryder's character, forget her name now. They all survive. 11 as well, and they all live happily ever after, and the final shot is all, 20 of them all sitting around a campfire. No, come on. Somebody's got to go. So, and I don't want to be a fake out. Like at the end of episode 4, in the first drop of batches of things, we think somebody dies, but they come back at the end. Listen, if it doesn't make sense to kill a character, okay, fine. Then you don't kill a character. You don't kill a character just for the sake of it. But I just wish, I don't know, man. I just, sometimes it's okay to step out of your comfort zone. Sometimes it's okay to make people feel a little, it has to be calculated. It has to be calculated. I think Steve makes sense. Yes, I think Steve makes sense because he's the Han Solo of the group. And so I could see him dying, and that would make sense. Oh, yeah. The guy in part 4, right? Eddie, was it? Eddie? He was killed. Yeah, but he was introduced in that season and killed in that season. This is what I mean, right? Oh, and they killed Max's brother, of course, or half-brother, stepbrother, whatever. But it's like, yeah, but if you think about it, everybody they've killed in Stranger Things, everybody they've killed has been safe choices. And it's not that you don't do that. Like, I get it. I would do the same thing. But eventually there's got to be some, like, look what would Endgame mean the same if Iron Man didn't die? Do you know what I mean? Right? That's what I'm talking about. It gives so much power and weight, and if it's done right, if it's done well. And so, yes, I think 11 should make the ultimate sacrifice herself, not in a meaningless way, in a very meaningful way. Like maybe the last person she sees is Mike, and Mike and her are locking eyes, and Mike knows that this is it. And I mean, really it. Like, that's the kind of shit I'm talking about. And Mike's like, no, don't do this. There's got to be another way. We got to figure this out. You got to be, no. She's like, Mike, I've got to do this. I got to do this. I love you, Mike. I mean, that's what I mean, man. Like, that's good shit. Because you're not making a season 6. So come on, let's do this. Don't kill, the grocery store clerk. I mean, come on. This is the end. This is it. Josh McKenna, $9.99. Thank you, Josh. Says, why do studios wait to announce actors? You waited to reveal who played Billy in It's Me, Billy. If someone like Jamie Lee Curtis had a small role in a movie, why wouldn't her name appear on IMDb until the movie releases? Well, there's a number of factors. So it's not black and white, Josh. So there's a number of variables at play, depending on the studio, depending on the project, depending on whether the project has significant pop culture influence, whether it's just an indie film that they're making for $2 million or something. It all depends. It depends on the actor, like whether, there's a number of, it's not a one size fits all, but generally speaking, when an actor is announced to the public, that's not like so let's say that, there's a movie being made and tomorrow, Millie Bobby Brown was announced to be in Avengers Doomsday. She didn't just sign tomorrow. That's been in the works probably since the summer, but announcements and when information is released is very strategic, and there's reasons for that. So always keep in mind when you find out an actor is attached to, you see on Deadline, so-and-so has signed on to, they didn't sign on that day. You know what I mean? They've signed on probably at least a few weeks ago, if not a few months ago. And why do they wait? Like I said, it's for a number of reasons. They may not want the actor's name out there because of who they're playing, the character they're playing, and what that could mean. Spoilers. They may release an actor's name earlier to get ahead of potential spoilers. Like there's just so many variables at play. I did wait to announce who was playing Billy, but that was just because I didn't want people looking him up online and seeing his face. There's a reason there, right? I mean, that's a reason, right? That a bigger studio level film might do, right? Because the whole idea is that Billy, you don't know what he looks like. You don't even know who the actor, you don't know, And so we didn't announce who was playing Billy just because we wanted his face to not be seen. Because I didn't want to say now everybody knows, but I didn't want to say it's Brian Charles Peter. And everybody's like, Brian Charles Peter. And then you see who he is. And then it kind of diminishes the whole impact of watching the film. That reason could very well be reasons that they, do that kind of thing. There's a multitude of reasons. You're right that a name will not appear on IMDb until after it's announced. Now, IMDb is also a, public edited platform. So, anybody can put anybody's name on anywhere without proper evidence. And I shouldn't say that. They've gotten better at tightening that in terms of having the evidence you need. But, there's many different reasons why they delay. But the big reason is when an actor is announced, it's not that, like, say tomorrow, Jenna Ortega signed on for Scream 8. She didn't sign. They did not call her tomorrow, be like, hey, Jenny, want to be in Scream 8? Sure. Okay, here's the contract. Sign it. No, it probably was conversations happening for months. And she probably signed months ago. And now they're just announcing it, right? And there's reasons. And you can think of the many reasons why they wouldn't announce that now, right? You know what I'm saying? Politics are at play. I don't mean politics in terms of, well, it can be geopolitical politics, but I mean more of the bureaucratic, a lot of, there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff. It could be its own video. But that's the Cliff Notes anyway. What time is it? All right. Let me see. Fliximetry says, hey, everyone, excuse my tiredness, my 2 cents. She will die. Closing the gate once and for all, saving Will and defeating Vecna. Season 1 prepped us for that eventuality. I think you are right. I forgot about that. Thank you for mentioning it. Yeah, I think you're right. It makes sense. It makes the most sense. She is a god. She could never live a normal life. Makes the most sense. And it serves the story. Scared Straight Production says, what if Will becomes a new variant of Vecna and he ends up killing 11? As they take out Will, Max comes back with 11's powers. 11 brought her back from the dead. Basically, might be possible she transfers. Yeah, I think that with respect, I get what you're saying, but I think that's extending it rather than wrapping it up. I don't think that's I don't think it's necessary. If they wanted to go for a season 6 and 7, yeah, maybe think about that. But you got to bring this full circle. It began with 11 and Mike and those kids. It's got to end with those kids. And there's got to be a moral and a message and a yeah. So yeah. Alex Shambach says, I think all of the boys will survive, but Jonathan or Steve will die. 11 is 50-50. Yeah, I think Steve, I could see Steve going. And 11 being 50-50. You're right. I agree with you on that. But, we're going to find out. I mean, we're going to find out. It should be interesting. Let me scroll back. Let me see here. Colin Murdy, what's going on? Colin says, hey everyone, I'm quite looking forward to the final season, but I'll have to revisit the last episode of the last season as it's been so long. Can't really remember the plot now. Yeah, the final shot was all of them standing on that hill overlooking Hawkins and seeing all of kind of the carnage and everything that was taking place. And now I guess we jump forward, like a year or something like that? I think we jump forward a year. Something like that. I think it's a year, is it? Something like that. A year and a half or something. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Scared Trade says Mike will be involved because Will wants Mike. Oh. No, yeah, I get what you're saying. Well, they're all gonna be involved. And I think 11's gonna die. Do we think that anyone significant will die in the first release to compel people to want to watch the second release? Well, there's 3 of them, right? There's November 26th, Christmas, and New Year's. New Year's, I think, is just 1 episode, is it, or something? If I was writing it, I would kill Steve at the end of episode. I mean, if it made sense, but you kill him at the end of episode 4, first batch. Oh, what the fuck? And then people are like, but that's the risk you take. Yeah, but some people might be upset. But yeah, then they're upset. Let them be upset. Let them be upset. 18 months, says Scared Straight Productions. Yeah, so we're in 1987 or 1988. Does it take place in 87 or 88? Maybe it's 88. I thought it was only 4 years between season 1 and season 5, which is insane. That's absolutely insane. I think it is, though. Fleximetry says maybe the final scene will be Hopper putting out some Eggo waffles in the woods just in case. A little hope for the audience. I wouldn't do that. I get what you're saying. I wouldn't do that because it would be exactly why I wouldn't want to do that. I think it should end. It's like, not to, shameless plug my own movie, but it's like The House on Port Robinson Road. I'm not going to tell you how it ends, but I can tell you there's no cliffhanger. It's not. Now, it's because somebody asked me once, well, would you ever do a sequel to The House on Port Robinson Road? And I said, look, no, because the film is inspired by true events. If I start making sequels, then I'm making now every story is just made up. You know what I mean? And which is not that you can't do that. It's not that you can't do it. But no, I am somebody that I like sequels. I do. And if it makes sense to continue it, if it makes sense and there's more to tell, I'm all happy for sequels. But I miss the days when it was okay. Like, we're in the era of franchises. And I get it. They make money. And sometimes they make billions of dollars. I get it. But I miss the days where sometimes a movie would come along. It was one movie. It was one and done. And it was great. It was great. And, but now it's all about franchises. How can we make 90 of these things? And it's like, and, look, so I just, but that's also because the house on Port Robinson Road also isn't like a slasher movie, or, it's not like a Conjuring, where sequels lend themselves to, hey, I know, how about we do this at the end? It's not that kind of movie, so it would be weird to suddenly have something that you would almost break your own rules, right? In terms of the universe you've set up. But yeah, I mean, there's, I don't know. I don't think I would do that. I'd want to just, I don't know what the final shot will be, but maybe okay, you've heard it here. You've heard it here. Okay. I have no inside knowledge of this. The final shot will be the 4 kids playing Dungeons and Dragons. That will be the final shot, because that's how you opened it and that's how you end it. And they're now like, they're supposed to be 16, but they look the way they look. That would be really cool. Sitting in the same seats, right? Maybe in Mike Wheeler's basement, because they haven't moved yet, right? Have they moved? Have they moved? I know the Byers moved, but the Wheelers haven't moved, right? So they're still in the same house. Chat room, let me know. I think they're still in the same house. So you could do that because it was Mike's basement, right? So you could totally, if the Wheelers' house doesn't get destroyed in season 5, no, so they didn't move. Okay, thank you, Courier. Thank you. Or are you saying that they are in this, or they aren't in the same house? There you are. Now, why? Why do that? Because that's symmetry. It's poetry. It's storytelling. It's good storytelling. And it makes sense thematically. Why does it make sense thematically? Because what they are doing, not that there aren't grown-ass adults that don't play Dungeons and Dragons, but it ties back to that childhood when they were, I know there's 2 things that would happen. I know there's still children technically in the universe. They're like 15 and 16. I get it, but they're really not. They're really like fucking Millie Bobby Brown adopted a child and she's married. Like, you know what I mean? Like they're adults. Right? They're like 21 and 2 and 3 and 4. I mean, they're adults. And so you have 2 things. You hearken back to the symmetry and the poetry, so it rhymes, right? But it's also cool because in your mind they're really 20 years old, and here they are almost channeling their inner child. Do you know what I mean? And it's kind of like a double thing that's happening. And I think it would just be a really sweet moment. And you see them, doing the little thing. Okay, no, I got this. Okay, you go to, and all you got to do is you put the camera on a dolly. You put that dolly on some track. You lay maybe about 10 to 12 feet of track out, and you just slowly pull back. Now you could do that as a digital zoom, but you could do it in post, I guess. But having the camera actually move in frame and move out it's a bit different. There is a different feeling to the camera moving as opposed to a zoom out. Zoom outs are fine and they can be very effective too. Maybe the average person doesn't see it. As a filmmaker, I see it. But yeah, I would lay down some track, 10 feet of track, whatever, put that camera on a dolly, put the dolly on the track, and just pull out. And you just see them, no, what's going on? You just see that, and then you just cut to black. Cut to black. Then you go, well, what do you do when you cut to black? Do you just roll credits? Do you have Eleven's voice? What? Oh, is she still alive? Oh my God. No, you don't do that. Don't do it. But it's hard to risk the urge to do that, isn't it? It's really hard. But that's what I would do. You end it as you began it. And then it really does feel like an ending at that point. It really does feel complete. And I think that would be really cool. I think that'd be a really cool ending. That'd be cool. Alex Shambach says, Dave, any update on the campaign upcoming panel discussion for It's Me, Billy? Love the atmospheric preview. You mean the house on Port Robinson Road, not It's Me, Billy. Oh, by the way, There's not too many people in the chat room at the moment, but if you are still waiting on your Blu-rays, we understand. 100% truth. We've been back and forth with the authoring company for several months now because there's just been some technical things that we've been working through with the company, I'll say, and it's taken a lot longer than we had anticipated. The good news is we sent final approval just earlier this week. So the Blu-rays are now finally being printed. We don't have them yet, but they're finally being printed. Whew. Okay, great. So thank you for your patience. We hope to start sending them before Christmas, start sending them, and then we'll be sending them, of course, over the next, who knows, however many months, because you have to be patient. It is just the two of us, and we have like nearly 1,000 Blu-rays to send out. So we do appreciate your patience, but they are coming. They are coming. And so, I think you mean the house on Port Robinson Road. No update yet. I am meeting with two of my college friends who will be joining me on the stream. I'm meeting with them actually at the end of this month, which is very cool. One of them I haven't seen in 22 years, I think. And then the other one I haven't seen in a few years. It's been a few years. So that's going to be really fun. Still reaching out and seeing if I can get one more person. It's difficult, right? Because you have to understand that not everybody wants to talk about it. Not everybody is camera, they're not like me necessarily, right? They don't want to jump on Zoom and talk about a very personal experience necessarily to a bunch of strangers, even if it is me. And some of them who I'm reaching out to, I might not have no relationship with anymore, right? I might not have talked to this person literally in 25 years. And so, not that there's any animosity or it's weird or anything. It's just some people they've moved on. They have kids and families and T-ball and, all this kind of stuff. And so, sometimes it can be a bit tricky trying to land people down when the experience is so long ago. But I do have two, and I am looking to get at least one more as well, which I think would be really great. But it was never going to be a panel of 30 people, it's not practical, right? And that's not going to happen. But it will be fun. And I will have some updates on that. And thank you for the compliment on the atmospheric preview. Maybe I'll play that here in a second. But yes, I will have an update on that soon. I will say that there's going to be two tiers to it. So there's going to be a premium tier, which will be the tier where you get a link to the live show. And this isn't a show that's going to be like an hour. I mean, this might be 2 or 3 hours long because there's a lot of stuff to talk about. The premium tier will be a private link to the show. You get to join in part of the Q&A, right? So you get to ask us anything you want to ask us. That's part of it. I'm working on sort of a digital kind of poster as well that will be sent to you as well. High resolution digital kind of poster that'll be sent to you as like a PNG kind of thing. And so that's kind of the live experience, but it's a premium tier. So it's going to be more expensive than the non-premium tier. So the non-premium tier, will be, it might be like the price of, a movie and some popcorn or something, right? And the non-premium tier is you don't get a link to the live show. So you can't partake in the live show. You don't get the poster and you don't get to join in on the Q&A, but you do get to watch it afterwards. But the link will only be available for like 72 hours, or something like that. And that's sort of it's like going to the movies, right? You know what I mean? That's what it is. You go to the movies, so you plan around it. And so that's the tier in case, you can't afford the premium tier. But again, all of the funds raised are going towards the continued development of the house on Port Robinson Road, because I'm about 7,000 Canadian away from my first stretch goal, and I'd like to get there, right? And so it would be great to get to that. And so I figured that's a really cool way to do it, is you have a premium tier for those who want to help out in a larger way, it's not going to be like $500 or anything like that. It might be like, I don't know, $100 or something like that, right? And that's, it's like the cost of going to a concert or something. Actually, it's probably a lot cheaper than going to a concert, or to a football game or something like that, right? And that's kind of the idea, is that, but I also have the cheaper seats as well, right? But you get less things for that. And so it'll be structured in and around that. I'm just working on the graphics now. I got to figure out, a date and time that works for myself, that works for the individuals that will be joining me. But it's going to be a lot of fun, folks. It's going to be, this is the real story that inspired the movie. So it's not the movie. I mean, there are things in the movie that did really happen, of course. I mean, that's why it's inspired by. I have written a story inspired by the real thing that happened. But of course, when you are writing a film, the real story doesn't always translate to the screen verbatim, right? Which is why people often do documentaries. And so, I had to create a story using the footprint and the blueprint of the real experience, and using things from that real experience, and create a story that is cinematic for cinema and all that kind of stuff. It's a psychological horror drama, is what the house on Port Robinson Road is, with supernatural elements. So again, it's not a slasher movie. It's not The Conjuring. There's nothing demonic. There isn't like a big villain like Bathsheba or Art the Clown. It's not like that at all. It's probably different than what you expect, but it's still, in my estimation, very scary, rich with my mood and atmosphere and all that kind of stuff, right? But it's also philosophical, and it's got it's, like I said, it's got that The Others meets, it's got Contact in there and Arrival in there, not in scope, but thematically. It's a bigger picture kind of thing, dealing with these college kids and this experience and what does it mean and all this kind of stuff. It's not just a ghost movie. You know what I mean? And so whether that whets your appetite or makes you go, oh, well. Hey, I have no control over that, but I'm incredibly proud of it. The script is done, the lookbook, all that kind of stuff. I'm very excited about it. And I think it's different. I think it is. I think I've taken familiar elements that we've seen before, college age characters, haunted farmhouse, but I'm marrying them in a story that you don't quite see with this age group. And that's what excites me about it. And that was really what was happening. And you will hear us talk about that. So when you watch the show, because we're going to talk all about it, about sort of what things inspired it, the real stuff behind it, and it's real stuff. And again, all the money raised goes towards the continued development for the film. So I think it's a cool thing to do. But again, don't have a date yet, but we'll have a date and time soon. Josh McKenna says, is the ticketed Q&A show the same thing as the November Files? Great question. So yes and no. So on the Indiegogo campaign, the top tier is the Legacy Files tier for the November Files, which you're going to get the photos we took, a lot of the audio we captured, the video we took. It's crazy stuff. And in the top tier, you also get a ticket to the live show with us. Yes, Josh, it is the same thing, but if you were to purchase just a ticket to the live show with the Q&A, you don't get what's in the Legacy tier, because the Legacy tier is more expensive, right? Because it comes with all the other stuff. This is just taking that live show out of the Legacy tier, almost like its own perk, right? Making it more affordable, still premium, but far more affordable for those who may not want the other stuff. They just want to join and watch us talk about the real experience, right? So that's what that is there. That's what that is there. Chester says, Dave, what are your thoughts on Carpenter considering doing The Thing too? I don't really have any thoughts at the moment, to be honest with you. You sent in a super chat? No. It is a big deal. You sent in money. Let me just see here. Thank you for letting me know. There it is. I've got it. Sometimes when I talk and I go yabber, 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 sometimes I miss it, but I got it, buddy. I got it. I don't see 11 dying because Hopper lost one daughter before the show started. Too brutal to lose two in one show. Also had to imagine her alive being a god. I understand what you're saying, but we have to remember that 11 is not his daughter. Adoptive daughter? Yes. Took on the responsibilities? Yes. But I think Hopper's arc is complete. I think as long as Hopper makes that part of his arc, as long as he makes peace with 11, he did bring her up. He stepped in when no one else would. He saved her. He protected her. It was tumultuous. Tumultuous? Yeah, I think that's right. At times, but he did it. He didn't abandon her. For better or worse, he didn't abandon her. He set rules that were maybe too strict. He parented her. And he did good things. And so I don't think 11 needs to survive for that. I think the Hopper daughter thing, I think it's fine. I would still kill her. 100%. Because I don't think Hopper needs 11 to survive for him to survive. I think it's Joyce that ultimately is more important. And I think Hopper can make peace with 11 dying because she sacrifices herself to save the world. And that part of their, relationship is complete. And so, I think so. I think the fact that he even just adopted her was incredibly noble and amazing. You know what I mean? So I get what you're saying, but I think she still needs to. It needs to die. She needs to die. But yeah. So those tickets are coming soon, and I hope you guys purchase them because it would be a lot of fun to see a lot of you in there. I think it'd be a lot of fun. And if you're into the paranormal, and again, this is the real story. We're not fucking around. This is the real story. And so, yeah. It'll be fun to have you guys there. All right, folks, listen, that's going to do it for me here on this episode of McRae Live. I want to thank you for joining me here today. Really, really, really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you to the super chat questions that came in. I really appreciate that. Guys, you guys are awesome. If you're watching after the fact, jump into the comment section and let me know your thoughts on anything I had to say here today. But more specifically, Stranger Things. Where are you at with your fandom with Stranger Things? And where are you at with 11 dying? Do you agree with me? Do you not agree with me? Jump into the comment section and let me know your thoughts. I would like to know. That is going to do it for me, folks. Have a great rest of your Wednesday. Stay safe out there. And don't forget, the House on Port Robinson Road development campaign is still there. Go to Indiegogo, help support however you can. Would really, really appreciate it, guys. But yes, those tickets are coming soon. All right, folks. Have a great night. I will talk to you all soon. In the meantime and in between time, I will talk to you soon. Cheers.